I enjoyed my time.
All right, I will call the January 2026 Board of Education meeting to order. Welcome our guests. Larry, thank you for being here. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Do we have anybody for open forum?
We do not, sir.
We do not. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. All right. Any questions on the transfer and payment of bills?
I didn't see anything.
Looked fairly.
1 second.
Got one?
1 second.
Okay. While we're waiting on that, I'll go ahead and take a motion, then we'll take comments.
Sounds good. I think I'm good. I think I looked everything up. I think I'm
Okay.
the summer school stuff that I was confused by.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any questions?
Oh, good.
All right. Got a motion and a second to approve the transfer and payment of bills. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Reports. Middle high school report.
Good evening. I feel like it's been forever since I've seen you with the break and all that fun jazz going on. So at the top, I put our enrollment numbers. We have 112 students at the middle school and 208 at the high school with a total of 320. And last year at this time, we were about the same. We've had some students come and go at Christmas time. It seems we have a few here and there. So we're holding steady there. Culture was a big thing the month of December, lots of fun, lots of spirit in our building. I just cannot say enough about our high school student council. Just the way that they create our events and our assemblies, it's just so much fun. I stuck some pictures on there just because we had an absolute blast, and it's all the students that lead it. They do a really, really good job. And then over Christmas break, our Radical Radiance team came in, and they hid all kinds of little bitty animals around the building for our staff to have to find on the way back. So it was just a great way to get staff excited about coming back for the next semester. Gotta have some fun somewhere. With our procedures, right now, Mrs. Wolf and I are working on our master schedule for next fall. We're actually playing around with adding some extra reading and ELA items to the middle school. We're really, really excited about what we have going on so far. We're hoping to have that done by the end of January, so Mrs. Wolf can go ahead and start working with the students on what classes they want to take next year. For instruction, we are really excited about the number of dual credit and dual enrolled students that we have. I put a lot of numbers in your report. So currently right now, we have 2 courses that are being taught in-house that are sponsored by State Tech. We have 2 State Tech teachers that came over first semester to teach those courses. We also have 2 courses that are taught by our own staff here at Lynn, one through State Tech, the other one goes through Truman University. For juniors, we have 53% of our juniors are taking one dual credit or dual enrolled class. That means they're getting credits for college. And then we have 33% of our juniors are taking more than one. So we have 61 dual credit or dual enrollment courses for first semester, which is just amazing, especially for juniors. And then for seniors, we had 59% taking a dual credit or dual enrollment class, 43% are taking more than one, and we have 90 dual credit and dual enrollment courses that were taken first semester. So we're really excited at how, I mean, these are students that want to take these courses. They want to work at that higher level to get those credits for college, so we're very impressed with our students and their desire to take those courses. And we're talking about seeing if we can get maybe a few more in-house for next year, so we're playing with some ideas. So we're excited. Tomorrow we're going to be working with Mark Clements. He's from the Heart of Missouri RPDC. He's coming in to work with our staff on data teaming. So that's using not like evaluate or map data, but he just wants to use the data that they get from their tests, their assessments in the classroom to drive that instruction, to make sure that we're changing what we're doing immediately. So we're really excited about him coming in to work with our staff. He's going to come in 3 different times between now and the end of February to do a full data team cycle with our staff, and then we're going to keep it going from there. And then you might hear a new buzzword coming home from a lot of the students. It's called testlets. Yeah, it's a really weird word, but we're really excited about this coming from DESE, and they have it at the elementary level as well. So what it is they're taking each standard, so instead of doing like just one practice test for the map, it's each standard has its own like little mini test. So it's like 10 questions. You can give it to your students after you teach a standard, and it gets you feedback on how they would do if that was on the map test at this point. So we're really using those at the end of all of our units right now to get some feedback on how our students do answering the questions. Because a lot of times it's not that they don't know the information, it's just sometimes these questions are weird. They ask them in weird ways, so we wanna make sure our students are prepared for that. So if you hear that word, that's what we're using to drive some of our instruction now as well. And then beginning in late January, we're gonna really use our Wildcat time to focus on these test slits and using some of this data to do small group work to really get some momentum going for our testing that's coming up in April. We're gonna do that both at the middle school and the high school level, so we're excited to use that time to really drill down on some items that we need to work on. I added in here our evaluate data from first semester, and some evaluate data went up, some stayed the same. It kind of is all wonky. The reason is, so evaluate changed this year. They did not give us enough information coming in, so we've been learning as we go, and the teachers have been trying to navigate that too. Great questions, great stuff still there. Trying to get some of the reports coming out is a little rough. So what we're actually doing this year is we're gonna pilot iReady, which is being used at the elementary school already, to see if that would be a better source to give us some of that diagnostic testing. Because then what we can do is take that 5th grade data, they can keep that going over into the middle school and just keep those assessment scores going. So we're gonna be piloting that at the middle school to see if that will help us with some of these data points that we're looking at. So that's what we have going on at the middle school and high school. Any questions? All right.
Facility report.
Well, again, this time, I don't have much to report, which is, I guess, is a good thing. Just doing routine maintenance around the building. Equipment's working as it should right now. We had a few little HVAC issues, but nothing to really speak of. Still working with Vex on the Dawn project. Burns and Jones, ball field. UMS is wrapping up their HVAC project, so we've been working with them a little bit. General upkeep of facility and grounds, and we still have the custodian position available for the events, but haven't had too many apps for that. Still looking for that. We're all stocked up on ice melt for the winter weather. Hopefully we don't have to use it. We got it ready. Got the new blades on the plows, and we've been working a lot on the concession stand remodel project. We got the slab poured the other day, and windows ordered, and a little bit of the construction done on the inside. That's about all I got.
All right. Questions?
Thank you.
Okay. If I'm a little distracted, we have a medical emergency across the street, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Superintendent report.
All right, I want to give you a brief snapshot of where we are in several areas. Some recently came on our plate is our fair dates change, so that's inspired some conversation for our team. That's the 11th through the 13th. Our summer school is May 19th to June 19th. Plus we have construction. Fair folks reached out after making that adjustment. They didn't have a lot of choice there, but we feel like we have a few options that the admin team that worked on today. They're going to make sure that our students can participate at their fullest. I don't want to get too far ahead of them because we haven't really problem solved through this yet, but we're thinking we might adjust some days in weeks to open up that Thursday and Friday of the fair. So maybe go on some Mondays, maybe 5 days a week on a week or two, so that our kids can participate in that very important community event. Staff had a good break. Phil Boyd returned for culture building, professional development. Our culture and climate remain a challenge for us, and while we see good work happening, our data and daily experiences show that we're still sometimes resistant to adapting to best practices, and that becomes harder when people are tired. I've mentioned that quite a bit before. Discipline continues to be a significant strain. I can't express that enough, especially at the elementary level. We have a severe increase in high-need students, and we're really stretching our staff and administrative capacity. I think it's affecting our staff morale as well. From a staffing standpoint, we've begun posting positions for 26-27 last year in December, and we're actually seeing some healthy responses. At the same time, we may need to consider some future discipline support roles. It's very early in that conversation. I like to put that out there long before we need it. as behavior management is consuming a large share of our leadership and instructional time for support. We'll also be reviewing several personnel items in closed session tonight that'll impact that. Also want to make sure that this isn't an anomaly. We don't want to make any big adjustments and then really have our discipline fall off and still have the burden. Academically, we're focusing on curriculum instruction and data while also addressing how adult mindset and culture are influencing how we effectively meet our student needs. Activities like basketball are progressing well, conference band went well, sports planning is underway already for the spring. You're gonna see a little bit of that in closed session, and facility updates related to the bond. That'll also come later in the agenda, but I don't mind saying here that we are on time and under budget. This isn't wood, but it's close enough. Financially, while the state has indicated that the funding formula will remain the same, I think it's important to keep in mind a couple things. While their funding formula may stay the same, it still has to make it through appropriations. And I think Governor Kehoe had mentioned that there were some concerns in education that while funding remained the same, that school districts were considering that less money. And I think what school districts are referring to is the increased cost in operating. CPI going up. $1 is not worth $1 the same that it was this time last year. And so if we have the same amount of money, we have in fact lost ground. We are beginning to work on the 26-27 budget, still have those pressures. We definitely need another special education staff member. Early childhood funding is changing, and our increased behavioral support needs looking to the future. So I'll continue bringing updates as we move through that in the spring, and I welcome the board's perspective on priorities as we plan ahead.
Mr. James, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
You've been talking about the increased problems with discipline. How are the seasoned teachers, the ones that have been through it for years, how are they handling it? Can they give help to the younger teachers? I think that's where we lose a lot of the young teachers, that when that doesn't, they can't get that part of it in there, then they pack up and leave.
I think it's a great question. Some of our most experienced teachers are helpful in that regard, but even our most experienced teachers are struggling with some of the issues that we're having. Things like, I've never been requested so often by parents to spank children. Like, they come get me, bring me out to the car. I'm wondering what's going on. They want me to provide corporal punishment. That's not something we can do here. They want me to remove their children from the car. That's not something we can legally do here. And so we are really struggling with that partnership, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But to get back to your point about our most experienced teachers, they're doing well in general. Outside of about 15 core students, they're doing very well. But we also have some of our lesser experienced teachers that are really struggling in the classroom. And one of the things that we're required to do as a part of law and policy is go through a discipline continuum. And that can be very frustrating, especially for your best teachers who aren't having those same types of issues and are a little bit more effective. They want that process to move more quickly, and we're just not able to do that without putting the district in a leveraged and a risky position. But we are worried about all of our teachers, but we are looking to our very best teachers to let us know. Well, I look at them as our indicator species. I want to make sure our very best teachers are satisfied with the support that they're getting in the classroom. It is definitely exposing some growth opportunities with us for staff with discipline. We're seeing that quite a bit.
Out of curiosity, we're going to look up bond language in a little bit, and one of the things on there is a school resource officer. Do they tend to have a calming effect, or would they have any impact on some of this?
With some students, with one particular incident that we had the other day, with an elementary student, believe it or not, there's not a lot that a school resource officer can do with that parent present. And that's what we're really seeing. I think your school resource officer is definitely going to help us at the high school. I've seen that definitely at the middle school. Elementary, help me if I'm incorrect here, Cammie, it's a little bit different relationship, and we're limited a little bit in what they can actually do for us. Where school resource officer will help us, believe it or not, is with some of the parent issues that we have at the elementary, because they are accountable at a very different level. And we've had several incidents this year where we have had to partner with law enforcement to correct some of those adult behaviors, oftentimes relative to poor student behavior, because the parent doesn't know what to do either. They're fearful for their child, they're not being successful. I say this often, fear and anger are best friends, rarely do you find one without the other. Usually they're holding hands. We see that play out in offices and parents. Actually, our school resource officer can help us quite a bit with those types of issues.
I would agree with that. I would also say that, just working in previous districts where we did have one district-wide, just having that relationship built with that school resource officer has helped some elementary kids. I'm not gonna say all, but there are a good portion that once they develop a good relationship with them, it is often a person that they highly respect and will do better if they know they're around.
Do they help, just throwing this out there, because this has been something that I have, for my child who has friends with a lot of these adult type issues that I'm like, you're just a kid. These are way bigger than what you as a child should be having to deal with. And so I know as a mom, I've been having her speak with a counselor to ensure that she is handling it appropriately as a friend. So would that resource be able to assist with those conversations, not just the difficult children? I mean, cause like my kid, she is not on the radar. Honestly, I wouldn't think she would be, but looking at her as a high functioning autistic who doesn't express emotions very well, I look at her and go, what is she internalizing because of these conversations she's having with her friends? And they're serious. They're very like heartbreaking.
You have to be really careful with an SRO what they're involved with that, because they do have a legal right to take action on certain things told to them. So you have to be, there's certain things that they can't be involved with, because it really will take what the school can do away and puts it in their hands, and then once they hear and know stuff, they have to handle a certain way. And so you have to be very, very cautious when it comes to any of that, once you get them involved and they're in the room, because they take precedence over it. We have to step back, so it's very, very cautious.
I think de-escalation and building relationships is something that our school resource officers are trained in, but I don't think it's their main focus. And so I don't know that would be a specialty area that I would count on counseling, that type of friendship or kind of therapy type advice. Honestly, I think you're doing the best thing that I love hearing as a parent, and you're having those conversations with her. And parents, in my
But in
opinion,
general,
can
I
make a
mean,
difference.
most average kids, especially, I mean, any of them, honestly, they really, some of these things that I hear about, I'm like, you guys have to deal with way more than I ever even dreamed of at their age. And so even as just average student who's in a good home, like you worry, like what they're being exposed to, what they're having to deal with, and it wears on them. So just a thought. But I don't really have anything else to say.
Other questions on the superintendent report?
Are there any, and this might be too long of a conversation, you can talk to me one-on-one later, but are there any neighboring school districts that offer alternative schools? I mean, I know that there's, what is it, Westphalia, but like high school, like, is there anything that would be beneficial if we worked with some alternative school for some of the older students?
Transportation costs would be prohibitive.
Okay.
We talked about that before a little bit when we were in the Show Me conference about maybe entertaining that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that any one school district wants to take that on because there's
Right.
not really a fiscal advantage. And so you almost want somebody that already has something because of their need. And that means the closest for us is really Jefferson City.
Well, that's what I was thinking of, was Jeff City.
I sincerely doubt they're looking for tuition opportunities for us to send us
Okay.
them, our most struggling students.
Further comment? Good discussion. All right, budget priority.
All right, current bond projects are projected to come in under budget by approximately 1.1 million, including contingencies. That number is 1.25 million. Those funds should be directed toward projects that support our long-term facilities, safety, and program goals. So I've proposed a list with totals approximating 1.2 million. And while the intent is to complete all the items, prioritization is necessary due to bid volatility, and also oftentimes what we find underneath what we just started to work on. So we benefited from conservative cost estimates. We've had some great bid day alternates that we've exercised, resulting in quite a few additional completed improvements. The projects that you see in that list include previously discussed items, community steering committee priorities, and needs that emerged during construction. So key priorities include the aging HVAC, parking and service road improvements, targeted weatherization, our windows up there. I've spoken with Mr. Hunt quite a bit about some aesthetic updates and upgrades you all saw there. Board input is requested. I'd like to confirm what your priorities are, establish sequencing, go into the final bid process with a goal of maximizing our long-term value while remaining within our available bond resources.
Anybody have any comments on anything on the list that they would like to, that they have a passion for or believe should take priority?
Do you know when they finish completing the concrete for the parking lot, are they planning to do joint sealer? Like to seal the joints from?
I'd have to look at the bid spec to see what
Yeah.
that is, honestly.
I was just curious, because I know we just recently looked at some pavements on I-70 over by St. Louis, and just from having the joint sealer, it looked like we had at least an additional 10 years before durability started being an issue. So especially if you're using mag chloride or the salts that we probably are getting, so it keeps it out of the joint, so it'll keep you from getting that cracking like they have in areas where you get the deterioration, like where we have the raveling or whatever. It'll keep it from raveling out further. So if we don't have that in there, you might want to see what that would cost, and then
Right.
include that as part of your part of your concrete.
Sounds good. I do have an additional, when I talked about built-in contingencies, I threw another $100,000 at the parking lot for things just like that, for some subsoil
Yeah.
remediation.
I just think
and-
it'll extend your service life for it before you start having to do some maintenance on it, and it's probably not gonna cost in the long term.
Not
It
terrible,
won't
yeah.
be terrible, I don't think.
I kind of split them out into tiers: infrastructure, safety and asset protection, facility functionality and learning environment, 3, program support and student experience, and then community engagement and communication. So some of those lower level priority ones, and I don't want to influence you guys too much, but I think there's about $300,000 there that it would be a good idea to push those lower. Like, I'll just give you one. I think we can all agree that an electronic marquee sign, while we've talked about it, pretty low on my priority list.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that could be as much as, and I tried to be very conservative, overestimate costs. That could be as much as $100,000. Well, we could use that as contingency for the projects above it. And I think those lower level stuff will give us about $300,000 in contingencies. And I think we can knock 70–80% of that out before we even have to worry about picking and choosing, quite honestly. I honestly believe at the top is the high school HVAC. It's the last HVAC. It's 25 years old. It's 10 years beyond its life expectancy. We've already replaced 4. This would replace the balance and would make sure we've sorted out elementary. We've replaced the big unit for middle school. We've upgraded the cooling system in the top of the field house, and the addition we'll have brand new. We do this, we're looking great. We're looking great for a good 15 to 25 years. Solid investment, and it'll pull it off of operating funds. But I think, you know, there are some other things that we should do, including, you know, replace and repair we're going to pay to do the gym floor anyway. we might as well use bond funds. It's in line with bond language. All of these projects I've made sure are in line with bond language. I think we can come really close to doing them all.
Would the windows that you would replace in the high school be bulletproof?
No, I wouldn't anticipate making those bulletproof. If we did, that would be significantly above the number that you saw. That would be a pretty major deal.
And I always mention when anybody says bulletproof, none of these windows that we say are bulletproof are actually bulletproof. They're really, the windows don't shatter. The bullet will go through it, but the window won't shatter, makes it harder to enter. So I know a lot of times people think that'll stop bullets. They
You know what I might look into though is some of the film.
The
Maybe.
film is
Yeah.
what we in education call bulletproof is really just bullet resistant.
So we could add film. You know, watching the Secure Vestibule project, we did an upgraded film on the interior and exterior of windows, to your point, and so I could probably get a bid on doing that.
So are the windows that you talk about in the existing high school, is that under this weatherization of the existing high school?
Yes, sir.
Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, I've always been irritated by those windows that are alongside the cafeteria in the high school. It's like, no matter what you do, I feel like they always look dirty. So, that would be, I realize too, though, I guess, now that we're putting that HVAC equipment out there, there's not really
You can
anything
put shades
beautiful
in.
to look at, but
Yeah.
I've never liked how that looks.
Other comments? Anybody have any heartburn with anything on the list?
I think infrastructure, safety, and asset protection, that makes it, prioritizing in that order, and then seeing what our bids come in at. If I see anything really out around that I think, you know what, I don't know that they'd agree, I'll touch base, but I think we can pursue the entire list with keeping some of the redundant things and the community engagement and kind of the aesthetic things closer to the bottom of the list. Good deal. Thank you.
Yeah, my only comment was if we have any money left after we either rewrap or repaint the what do we call it, the weight room, to get that weight room moved to the basement of the field house.
You know, with that being said, this is something that I was thinking about earlier. You know, kind of the bid estimate that I put in there, that metal is in rough shape, but we could have just replace some metal and then paint. That is far cheaper. And then maybe part of those proceeds, again, I was conservative, could be in moving that out of there completely anyway and getting it into the basement where we believe it'll eventually reside anyway. I think it would be great for games if we weren't stepping around weightlifting.
If we had
So I can adapt that line item to include that move.
and I'm not sure that we'd have money to put a locker room in at this point, but well, that does bring up a good point. Our restrooms over there are super embarrassing. I mean, they are nasty and ugly.
That's in that number. Yeah,
Yeah, but.
and with this much, we're looking at potentially hosting another, you say it so that I don't mess. Sectional game.
Sectional girls and boys basketball game, in first part of March.
And my point is this, we are looking for opportunities to show the state and our community what we've done here, and those bathrooms are getting used a lot more than they were previously.
Is there a way, I'm not saying this is priority by any means, but I have heard a lot of concerns about the kids exiting on the back end because there's no stoplight back there, especially for new drivers. And I get it, because I got one coming up soon. I mean, have we thought about how we can maybe reroute traffic in the afternoons? I know, like, we're trying to keep those high schoolers from going through where the kids are getting on the buses, which makes sense to me. But I also get, like, new parents and new drivers wanting kids to be safe going out through the stoplights versus going out the back end where it could be a little more dangerous. So have we thought about how we can maybe reroute? Like, add something? I don't know, just
We have
ideas.
thought about that, but that light stays overloaded for about 30 minutes. And if I try and talk a bunch of high school kids into going that way, they're gonna squirt out the back where they can go number one, we're gonna congest that worse than what it is for that short period of time. It is far better with that light. Nobody is more surprised than me on how effective that light has been. But I don't know that we're gonna make a lot. With that being said, I heard a little bit of murmuring about potentially asphalting a portion of Pointers Creek Road, which is that 801. And I think keeping dust down, potholes, and some improvements to back there. If they, this is different discussion, but if they asphalt up past our gate, then I'd sure like to take a look at just that long stretch there, maybe seeing if we can reach out to that contractor and see what they would give us to just turn the corner while they're already here, they're already mobilized, and maybe
Yeah,
help
because
us.
it's just at a weird angle
Oh, yeah.
It is.
and a
My
weird
son had
slant.
issues, too.
So I get the concern behind it, so.
And we have had some parents that have contacted us concerned about that, and we don't mind the students going out the other way. The only thing is, they have to wait until after all the buses exit first. But the problem is, half the high schoolers, they don't wanna wait for the buses. So that's why they jet out the back. So we've had a few parents that have contacted us, and we don't mind, but they just have to wait until buses get out of the way.
All right, any other comments on the project summary or project priority? All right, we're in a great place. I would have
Thank
never, with building costs the way they are, that we'd be in the position where we could do some,
Yeah.
things that will really make a difference in
I think
the
so.
school district. All right, calendars.
We are beginning the development of the 26-27 school calendar. I'm actually meeting with teachers January 20th. We have to meet some state requirements for instructional time, trying to balance PD, holidays, and family schedule. Our current practice is to build additional instruction hours, 60 of them, into our calendar so that we're not required to make up school days. We'll keep that. Hopefully that'll help maintain some consistency for families. Input is being gathered from teachers, then it'll go to administrators. We'll troubleshoot that, quite honestly. I'd like for our staff committee, let's just go with what they want unless there's unless there's some big reason for us not to go there. But we'll take a look at it, cross-reference it. We're trying to coordinate with St. George more than ever this year. We'll take a look at the activities calendar, make sure that that passes. But the goal is to maintain a calendar structure that supports student learning, minimizes disruption, and reflects the feedback from those working with our students directly, and still have to meet state requirements.
All right, any comments, questions on the calendar? Technology.
All right, this is a little bit longer one, quite honestly. If I haven't, oops, there it is. So since the state cell phone restrictions took effect, we have seen a marked improvement in our classrooms and our students' distractibility, and their focus and engagement. The districts around us and across the state are mirroring that sentiment. Current research also suggests that excessive screen time can negatively affect the learning and development of children. And so I'd like to see what your opinions are about refocusing on traditional learning and maybe pulling back from being one-to-one. The original purpose was students would have low accessibility to technology. I think they have a ton of accessibility with technology. We need to help guide them in its academic use, but I think we can do that at a far lesser, with a far lesser commitment. So have it developmentally appropriate. We're still gonna have some seniors that, upperclassmen that are gonna need to get used to doing that to go to college level. And if I were to give an example or create a picture, it would be more like it was probably 25 years ago when you had, and we'll work with staff, we'll work with buildings, class sets. You can check them out of the library. Now, we are gonna have to troubleshoot this if it's a direction that you're interested in going, because we still give map assessment online, we still give end of course online. Those windows have narrowed over time because everybody can assess digitally much faster in a narrow window. So that's something that we'll have to watch for. But I believe if we don't, we'll be behind. And I made this comment to somebody a couple weeks ago. I truly believe my two students, one of them was a pretty good student, the other one was a horrible student, but both of them are advantaged because they can read and write, and I mean a pencil and paper, and they can open a book and read and comprehend and problem solve. I believe they will have an advantage in the workforce of tomorrow if they can do those things without a device. And if I'll give it to my own children through my parenting approach, I think I should offer what I feel is best for our kids, and what research is showing us a direction we should go. This would not happen next year. We would plan, we would troubleshoot through this spring, come up with a progressive continuum that maybe makes an adjustment similar to what Aaron said. Maybe we could start next year by just keeping all the middle school Chromebooks at school instead of sending them home. Things like that.
Mr. James?
Yes, sir.
Did you know that there was a bill pre-filed by a legislator, I think, in the House, that she's saying that be 70% of the work being done on paper pencil, and that the computers with books and the computers being used less, and that that the teachers would be teacher-led with a lot less computer.
I'm not as familiar with maybe that bill, but I think it's a number somewhere in the teens that are being proposed that are restrictions to technology access in the legislature for this session. Maybe 13 or 60 different bills that talk about and propose limiting and withdrawing from technology in public schools.
Bell K-12 went up way from 1-to-1 this year. We have classroom carts, and we have them available. Pretty much, I've never had a problem. They don't have any problems with getting them. Usually, we don't fight over them. But it has changed us to more paper pencil, and I think it's been fantastic. Not gonna lie.
I'm reading body language, I don't see anybody that disagrees with the approach.
I wish you would have done it 5 years ago.
When did we go to 1-to-1?
What kind of grant?
COVID.
Eric,
Yeah,
COVID,
it was
2019.
Before
Okay.
COVID, we were, had some classroom carts and stuff, but not near 1-to-1, but, when COVID hit, we got a big bulk of order of Chromebooks, and, we weren't fully 1-to-1, but we were, high school, I think middle school, and then progressively through years, we've moved down grade levels until we finally got to kindergarten.
Gotcha. There will not, we're gonna have a change in resource, so I don't anticipate this windfall now that we're not buying classroom sets and replacing them immediately, but I think over time, we're actually gonna save a little bit of money. That's not necessarily the reason why we were pursuing this, but we've gotta start to rethink what we wanna use as resources in the classroom and textbooks, and so a lot of it'll just be moving that cost over, but.
Yeah. Presumably they'll last a little longer too without kids beating them up, taking them home, I would assume.
They'll definitely last longer without kids.
All right, I would say the faster you can move on that, the better.
Yeah.
All right, discipline.
As I've referred quite a few times, we're seeing increased challenges, student self-regulation, compliance with basic behavioral expectations. We are growing, and so are the number of students coming to us with severe behavioral issues. Recent conversations, we look back to last year and we had 1 or 2 kids where we have 12 to 15 replacing them. And not just the students coming with them, we have parents that don't know what to do and they're parking outside and coming to get us. If you're interested in those details, I'll be glad to share them with you. And so while I'm always glad to support social development, families play a critical role in establishing and enforcing those limits and the accountability. And when it's not consistent between us and home, our instructional time, not just our teachers, but every staff member, even the elementary and high school staff in the offices are having to support, because it's hard to wrestle 3 or 4. You just can't. And so you get 2 over there and 2 over there. Our offices are full and becoming ISSs, and oftentimes it's very important for you guys to know they're ISSs because parents refuse to come and get their children. And they will tell us, you deal with them. I think I've heard that more than I've ever heard in my entire life. Staff are spending a growing amount of time simply getting some students into classrooms just so we can begin learning. We don't have the same discipline tools, as I mentioned earlier, that are available to families. We're getting those requests for corporal punishment. That's not something that we're going to administer, oftentimes with the parent standing next to us. As a result, we're going to be really taking a look at adhering strictly to our discipline matrix. When behaviors are extreme and persistent, we are going to remove kids from classrooms, and we're going to ask parents, after we go through a continuum of discipline, let's talk to the kid, let's see if we can reason them. But we're going to ask parents to take responsibility for that. I want to be very clear, we have a lot of great parents too, and we have a lot of great kids that we don't, they just, you mentioned it earlier, I have a kid that's kind of low maintenance, you know. That is awesome. But we have 15 that are ruining our office environments, our hallway environments, and they're killing the morale of our teachers. And not for things that you would expect. Please feel free. I would love for you to just go walk with those two for one day of the week. If you last more than an hour or two, I'll be impressed. But that strict adherence means people are going to begin coming to you. People will attempt to vilify us for a while until they figure out that we are working very hard to mitigate things early, to communicate well, to intervene, to coach kids up, to love them as much as we can. But there comes a point where we're really sacrificing our learning environment and often safety for some of the behaviors that we're encountering. I'm telling you that so that you can be prepared as our community representatives. Those complaints, of course, they'll come to us. All of you have my cell phone number, feel free, it's on the website too, hand it out. But I want to know that they're speaking with the folk. I want them to talk with Dr. Otto. I want them to talk with Dr. Kim. I want them to talk with Dr. Seth. I want them to do that, but at the same time, if that doesn't work, absolutely come to me. But this approach is intended to strengthen our accountability while maintaining safe and productive classrooms. I'm interested in any feedback or concerns you might want to share.
I got one thing that's kind of a shameless plug, but I'm on the board for Osage County Anti-Drug Community Action Team, ADCAT, and they have a class that is free to families called Strengthening Families that is really, really good. And there's been several people that have gone through it that have said that it has helped their family dynamic and it has helped them be better parents, and it is free. And I wish I had a flyer of it about it on me, but I don't. But I know that they have another session of it. It's like a 6-week session, like one night a week for 6 weeks, and I know it's starting up here pretty soon. But it might be something that if we had some flyers out, that maybe might be worthwhile to some people.
Good thought. Other comments? No, other than say we appreciate what you all do, and
Yes.
I mean, we read the paper, we know there are a lot of kids that are in tough places, and frankly, it's sad, so, societal issues.
Hugging them harder hasn't been, I mean, they've honestly been backflipping for
I was
parents
a parent of
and
one of those
students.
children, so I know.
And hugging them is not working. And what we're attempting to do as a leadership team, we will not make progress under these conditions. And that's supporting teachers and learning in classrooms.
Yep, and that's our job, number one.
Absolutely.
All right, action items, resolution of election.
This is relevant to operating levy election, so this resolution needs to be approved by the board. I agree, someone made this comment. It will never be a good time. And I use this example with our administrative team earlier today. I have a 25-year-old HVAC. And if I honestly think about it, it will never be a good time for me to replace it. I will always have things that I would rather spend my money on. And so I think it's incumbent on us to express the district's needs and go to our community for support. And so I support the resolution of election and produce in the increased operating levy at 50 cents for the express purpose of an SRO and increasing our teacher base salary to the legal state mandated minimum.
Any clearly it's not if, but when. I mean, eventually we've got to do this.
Every year we're getting further behind. Next year we'll be 3% more behind.
Yeah.
And the year after that, an additional 3. We will increase our obligation, depending on how our staffing lands on a step scale, about $100,000 every single year. It will increase.
Like Bob said, there's never a good time for this, but I do think tying it at the same time with a board election where we have 5 candidates, which should bring in folks that are passionate about education, definitely won't hurt anything. Any comments on the resolution of election?
On the bond, or not bond, the
Levy.
levy increase of 50 cents. Like I said, I've raised concerns before. You know, we raised taxes 30%, but the bond assessed values have increased quite a bit. Property insurance has increased quite a bit over the last couple of years. A lot of people are struggling.
Other comments? Can I get a motion on the resolution of election?
I move for a resolution calling an election on the question of whether to increase the operating tax levy ceiling for the Osage County R2 school district.
Got a motion, can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Further comment? I think go ahead.
I was gonna say, we tried last year. I think we're gonna have to at some point. It appears that, I mean, it's not enjoyable, but it does appear that the way that the state budgeting, I would say, the way it looks in the future, it looks like the state is going to want to push more of the education expenses off on local authorities, and so I think we need to be prepared for that.
It's gonna be much easier to do it before we're in a hole than trying to dig our way out of a hole.
Correct.
I know there are a lot of concerns out there.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. I think we should do a roll call vote on this one. Brad?
No.
Lori?
Yes.
Naomi?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion passes. Bond candidate filing.
Our annual board candidate vacancies, we have 3 members that are up for re-election. Dr. Strong, Ms. Kluzak, and Ms. Greer. We have 5 candidates, including Matt McCoy, Mitch Branson, Alfred Brandt, Jill Chapler, and Dr. Strong. I recommend approving board candidate filing for the 2026 election.
I move to approve the board candidate filing.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Motion passes. All right, I think that's it. The next regular meeting will be February 19th at 2026 at 6:30. Uh-oh, we got a problem, unless we've already taken care of it. Can I get a motion to adjourn to closed session? Took care of it.
The little sheet is sitting here, so. I move we adjourn to closed session pursuant to Revised Statute of Missouri 610.021, subsections 13, relative to personally identifiable employment information, 6, personnel actions, and 1, legal actions involving public body and or privileged communications among that body and its representatives and attorneys.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call vote. Brad?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Naomi?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And I am a yes. We are adjourned to closed session.